How's it going, YouTube? It's Quayver, and today I wanted to talk about the future of Honkai Star Rail, and specifically the single target damage dealers. Just recently we got an update on what the future of the game entitles, and on top of the MOC and the Pure Fiction we already have, we were going to be getting this new game mode called Apocalyptic Shadow. And Apocalyptic Shadow seems like it's going to be very unique in the fact that it's going to be single target boss killing type of game mode, kind of like a boss rush is what I'm assuming. This is all based on the information that's been officially provided. And what this means exactly for the game, because we saw a resurgence of characters such as Himiko and Herta when the game first released Pure Fiction, and now we have this. So I wanted to give a little bit of insight onto specifically who should you be prepping for. If you could pick one character to start investing into, start getting relics for, start leveling up and building for this game mode, who exactly would it be? Who should you be putting your resources into if you have some spare resources going into 2.2? So that's kind of what I wanted to go over today. So we're going to be looking at some potential candidates as well as some potential team comps and just some insight on everything that's coming, especially with Boot Hill coming right around the corner. Obviously, he's going to be the first choice, so I'm not really gonna touch on him too much. He's going to be the newest, biggest character. So if you want to just get the newest, biggest hunt character that's going to do the most single target hunt stuff, you know, obviously it's going to be him. But not everyone has a stellar gauge. A lot of people want to save for fly, and they're thinking get Robin, skip Boot Hill, get Sam, or something along those lines. So I just wanted to give a bit more of a look into characters that have already been released to see, you know, do you really need to even pull Boot Hill to do this game mode? So let's jump right into it and check it out. First up on the list is going to be probably the strongest single target team that you could realistically make before we see Boot Hill coming out and exactly what he's going to do, like his specific numbers and everything as well. And that's going to be the single target follow-up team. Everyone knows this team. It's been gaining a lot of power, especially with how Adventurine's been coming out. Some of the advantages of this team especially are going to be how good it is in the single target, how many follow-ups can be done, how each follow-up from Dr. Ratio and then Nummy goes straight into fueling Adventurine's follow-up as well. This is also probably the best team if you want to build Adventurine with a signature light cone and going into him doing damage himself. And then May is just the best support for this team overall. I'd say this one right here is pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy to know. You hit the ratio, you get the follow-up, you get the Nummy, you get the follow-up, you got the Dr. Ratio, and then Nummy follow-up, Ratio follow-up again, and then eventually it's following up like a bunch of times in between that all as well. And then Ruan May's buffs just last throughout the entire duration. If you already have Topaz and Nummy and you haven't really put too much into them because they haven't really been like too centered around endgame, I'd say now is a really good time to put everything you really got into this team specifically. But there's also a lot of people that didn't pull Topaz just because like she wasn't exactly super strong on her own. She's like a support character, like how Kafka is the support character, the best support character for DOT. Topaz is the best support character for follow-up attackers. So this is going to be one of the really good teams for this new endgame coming up. I predict, at least. I'd be very surprised if this wasn't one of them. So let's go on to the next team here. So this is the next one I really wanted to talk about, and Sparkle can be replaced with Bronya, but I think Yang Qing really gets a lot of value coming into this new game mode. He's getting, in my opinion, the Himiko treatment, right? Himiko was really just only used for farming with Herta. She wasn't really too crazy in anything that she did, anything that she wanted to do. But then Pure Fiction comes out and suddenly she's one of the best characters for that game mode specifically. And I think Yang Qing here, he's going to be the next. He's the next one for this new game mode that's coming out. He's going to be the next person to be really good from the standard banner roster. He does still have some weaknesses when it comes to him losing his passive like damage if he gets hit, but luckily with Adventurine still in the banner now and a lot of people pulling for him as one of the best sustains that are currently out, he synergizes super well with the Yang Qing to make sure the Yang Qing never loses that benefit. Sparkle's always going to push him up and give him the crit damage, crit rate boost, and then all of his single target damage is going to be going into the new enemies in Apocalyptic Shadow, if I remember correctly. And then Ruan May is just probably like one of the best supports, but you could swap Ruan-Mei out for anyone. Honestly, either of the two supports are interchangeable here, but really what I wanted to focus on was Yang-Qing and then Aventurine to support him in this new upcoming game mode that's single target. This is going to be one of the, I predict at least, this is going to be one of the strongest options going into it. Finally, all the Yang-Qings that you lost at 50-52 are going to have some use. I know it's been a while, but now is the time for him to get a little bit of usage. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have everyone has Doctor Ratio, but if you don't have Topaz and you don't want to invest too heavily in a Doctor Ratio because Doctor Ratio needs a lot of heavy investment, I'd say Yang-Qing's probably going to be like the next best option for just a pure single target damage dealer. And then, a little caveat here is, of course, your destruction characters are still going to work here. All of them are still going to do a lot of damage, but really focusing in on single target kind of hunt characters, Yang-Qing, I think he's gonna rise up in popularity, just like how Himiko did. It's my bold prediction. Let me know if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but I'm almost certain that that's what's going to happen. All right, moving on. This combination here isn't exactly a team per se, but this is some more single target that I think is going to be really good, which is going to be Su Shang and then Luca. And then this is kind of like a team that I wanted to kind of test, build around with, I think would be interesting. And the main character here, Trailblazer, she's just a placeholder. Right here should be Robin, which is going to be coming out next. If you are able to pull Robin, and Robin does a good amount of buffing, depending on what she can do, I think that this team is going to be really solid, especially if we go into bosses that are like weak against physical, because Su Shang's single target and does a lot of break. Luca's single target and does a lot of break, and then Ruan-Mei increases the break efficiency. And then if Robin does something to increase break in any way, shape, or form, like this no sustain team is going to be insanely good for single target boss fights. Obviously, if they're both going into something like break effect, then it's going to be losing a bit of the damage there, because only one can have a break effect, right? But easily when Boot Hill comes out, if you do pick up someone like Boot Hill can replace Su Shang. Boot Hill can replace Luca, but I'd say probably Luca's probably the better breaker here. And then you have Ruan-Mei to boost both of them up. I think that even though it's going to be two single target damage dealers, which normally doesn't synergize that well together, so you want to have some AoE together, in this game mode, Apocalyptic Shadow, that's coming out specifically, putting one of these two breakers onto a team with a Boot Hill or another single target damage dealer, even like Yang-Qing or even like Don Hong, the original version, it's going to be very strong in that single target mode. Now, of course, there's also the possibility of the single targets spawning ads, and that's going to make it a lot harder to use teams like this. But someone like Luca that has an insane amount of break on him, that with Ruan-Mei increasing break efficiency, and then depending on what Boot Hill does, maybe he has insane break efficiency too, there's probably a good chance that even if they could spawn ads, if you're good enough, if you're speed tuned enough, if you're quick enough, you could break them and break them and break them before they have a chance to really ever spawn ads and then take them out and kill them. So I think that this is going to be a really solid team, especially if you have something like E6 Luca, E6 Su Shang, since they've been out for a while, done some pulls, maybe got lucky and got even up to like E4 would be good with them too. And then if you end up getting Boot Hill, especially because it'll be double physical and it'll synergize really well together, this is looking to be a really strong comp in that game mode, in my personal opinion, right? So just keep an eye out for this right here. This is more of a prediction team, but I'm fairly confident in this prediction about it. One of the last teams that is really single target focused that I want to talk about was the Mono Quantum team. Instead of Lynx here, you could put someone like Fu Xuan in, completely fine. I don't have Fu Xuan, at least not yet until a rerun, but this team right here I wanted to focus on specifically, not because of Sele, because everyone knows about Sele, but because of Silverwolf. Now, every single thing has been AoE target driven, AoE damage driven. So Pela has like been the defense shredder AoEer that for every team, and there's been arguments how good Silverwolf is compared to her and stuff like this. Now we're getting a single target game mode to where Pela's flexibility in doing AoE defense shred loses a lot of value, and Silverwolf being single targets no longer a downside in this game mode specifically. So inadvertently, it being single target makes Silverwolf an even better support when they were already tied together, when they were already like about even here. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring this up with Mono Quantum specifically. You don't even need to run Mono Quantum. You could have any DPS here, single target. You could have any support here, single target. But Mono Quantum's obviously the way to make it go the best when it comes to like breaking them, getting their shields down. So this is really what I want to focus on. I think that anyone could fit where Sele is. Anyone could fit in the support category here. And even if Silverwolf doesn't have like the implant specifically to hit the shields, that might be bad, that might be good depending on how the game mode works. But if it's a boss rush where bosses keep coming in, there's a high chance that bosses can swap, or not swap, but each boss is going to have a different thing that they're weak to get broken to. So in that specific mode too, where you're getting boss after boss where they have different weaknesses, Silverwolf can gain even more value there, because no matter what boss comes out, no matter what they're weak to, Silverwolf can give your team that edge to still do that break damage. It's going to be great with the Luca Boot Hill combination, or the Susheng Boot Hill combination I talked about, with Yang Qing to make sure he's always breaking the shields too, and then with Mono Quantum as well. So this is going to be really, really, really solid, at least in my opinion, in my prediction with what's going to be coming out, right? So take all this with a grain of salt. However, this is going to be this. I'm pretty certain that this is how it's going to be. All right, I've played the game long enough. I think that this is going to be pretty solid, right? Second to last here, I have a team that I've been kind of cooking in my head a little bit, thinking about, right? So the idea behind this team is, as you could probably see, mono imaginary, because as we have all like known and we've seen, we're getting Trailblazer a new form, and based on you know what I'm talking about, we're pretty certain that it's going to be imaginary Trailblazer, imaginary Harmony, probably as a buffer, probably a buffer, like I'm just making a prediction here. But with this coming out specifically, now you are seeing that there's a good possibility of running this team, which is going to be mono imaginary. Now, this is a speculative team. This is a team that I have not been able to test because one of the key components isn't there yet. However, always having that weakness to imaginary, you don't have Silverwolf, so you can't implant the weakness, but against things that are weakened to imaginary, they're also going to be weak to things like the imprisonment from Welt as well. So I think this team here, depending on what Trailblazer can do with the new form, this could be a very, very solid team. We're gonna have to get that update, we're gonna have to get that new form, and then once that happens, I'm gonna flesh this team out fully, and I'm gonna make a video on it. So stay tuned for that. That's gonna be interesting to see. But this, keep an eye out for this one. I think that imaginary, just mono imaginary, in the new game mode and in a lot of other game modes that have imaginary weakness, that this is going to be pretty solid of a team. So stay tuned for that. I got one more team that I wanted to just talk about that's probably the furthest stretch for this game mode, right? But it's still important to talk about. That team is gonna be the DOT team. Now stay with me here. Let me cook a little bit, okay? The DOT team has always been very good at hitting a lot of AoEs, hitting AoE everything, and their damage is backloaded. Now, in a game where you want to do as much front-loaded damage as possible, you think, why would you ever run DOT in a single target like boss kind of situation? But DOT is so flexible in that they don't need to break shields to do a lot of damage, even though it's backloaded. Now, if you wanted to actually like hit like shields, you could even run, if you have like a good enough build, you could even run something like this. You could even run this where it's the triple DOT and then run May, if you're confident that you're not going to get killed. This is going to be a very solid team for the new single target game mode. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but let's just stay with me here. DOTs don't care about breaking shields. DOTs do a lot of backloaded damage that gets stacked on. So this helped in every single type of boss. This helped in MOC, this helped in AoE, and this is going to be good in the single target game mode, because even though it is all AoE, you have to think about exactly how their abilities work. Black Swan, her basic attack can only hit one person. That applies a lot of Arcana stacks. Luca's skill and his ult can only hit one target, and that could break a lot of shields, and that'll inflict physical bleed. But even if you don't use Luca, Kafka is kind of like the key to this operation here too, because even though her ult can detonate the dots for every enemy, her skill can only detonate the dots on one character. So you are now guaranteed to always hit double detonation on a single enemy unit, just like how Black Swan's always going to put more of the Arcana stacks on their head. I really, truly in my heart believe that this team is going to be very good for the single target game mode, despite the fact that it is an AoE like nihility dot team, weird enough as it is. If I'm wrong, then let me know. You call me out, roast me a little bit. However, I know in my heart, and I know, like, just based on how the game functions, that this team is going to be very solid for it. It's just how it is. When it comes out, my first runs of like the hardest versions of whatever it's going to be, like, I don't know if it's going to be another floor 12 situation or if it's going to be another like just 4 floors like pure fiction, because we haven't really seen that yet. But when that comes, this is going to be a team I'm going to show off for it, just so I could prove this point, just so that I could show you how good it's going to be. That's why I think that everyone should invest in a dot team. If you don't like dot teams, fine, whatever, fine. It's absolutely fine. But a lot of people that sleep on dots think that they're not going to be great for whatever they're going to be, because it's a lot of black backloaded damage. And for MOC, that's fair, and maybe you lose a cycle, but no one's going for 0 cycles, and no one really cares about 0 cycles that much. Like, this is a casual game, everyone knows that. No one's going crazy unless you're like a content creator, or you're like an oil farmer, right? So this team is something that if you've been sleeping on it, or if you've been kind of pulling back and not wanting to invest into it because maybe like DOT's like, oh, I don't know if they're going to be that good or not, this is going to be good. This is good in MOC, it's good in Perfection, it's going to be good in the single target game mode. This is a team that can be flexed into all 3, so it is by definition one of the best bang for resources that you can have for end game content. I'm telling you, even if you don't have Black Swan, like, even if your team looks something like something like this. Even if your team looks something like this, you don't have Black Swan, you just have Luca. He's going to be great for the single target game modes. So you could have him for the single target game modes. Then you could swap out and you could have someone like Gwenaifen for the AoE game modes to inflict more of that, the burn kiss and stuff. It's going to be great. And especially if you have Black Swan on your account, do not sleep on this team. Make sure that they are the best they can be. They're extremely easy to build as well, especially with not needing crit rate, crit damage. You're gonna have a good time. I promise you, you're gonna have a great time with this team, even in the new single target game mode. That's the big thing I'm driving home here. This last bit here isn't exactly a team recommendation. I just wanted to make it very clear. You could still use destruction characters in the single target game mode, like Jingliu, Acheron, the General. Like, you could still use them all. General is actually probably one of the better versions of it if it's single target, because that means all the lightning large stacks are going to go directly into that enemy. But you could use every DPS for any of it. But when you're thinking about end game content specifically, where you need to have the best that you can possibly get for that end game, because there's not a lot of resources that free to play can get if you're a new free to play player, like, please reference those teams that we went over. And if you can only invest into one and you need to hit every type of end game, team. That's my biggest recommendation I could give for you. Otherwise, if you already have a pretty well built account and you just want to specialize, you want a specialized unit, just to wrap up, Yangqing is going to be getting a power boost just like Himiko did. I'm calling it here and now. It's almost too easy to see. So if you have him, especially with Eidolons, because you've lost every 50-50, let's be honest, you should probably build up Yangqing and get him ready for the new game mode. Aside from that, you could use Sele. I wouldn't. She's average, honestly. Even with the new single target game mode, her resurgence value drops from 1% to 0% because you can't resurge off of anything. So she's kind of just like in the barrel over there. Dr. Ratio, of course, free, great. Everyone should have him. Everyone can build him. It's going to be good. But probably everyone has E0 S1, whereas you might have like an E4 S1 Yangqing because you've lost every 50-50, right? So Really just think about who you want to build and invest into there. And then the single target, shield breakers, Luca, Sushang, all those characters. You're going to be set up. So that's all I really wanted to convey here in this video. That's all I really got for you for today's video. I just want to talk about the new game mode. Let me know down in the comments if you're interested in a new upcoming single target kind of boss rush game mode that's coming out in the future. If any of these helped you, please feel free to leave a like, letting me know that it's gonna help you out a little bit. Either way, thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be updated on further uploads, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Good luck on your adventuring and future Robin pools. Now we'll see you next time. Peace.